This morning, chilling new details in the death of an 18-year-old girl found dead on a Carnival cruise ship. ABC News is reporting that Anna Kepner's cause of death is asphyxiation resulting from a bar hold. It's when an arm is placed across the neck. We're also hearing that investigators found 2 bruises on the side of her neck, but no signs of sex assault or drugs or alcohol in her system. Kepner's body was reportedly found underneath a bed, possibly covered up in blankets and life jackets at the time she was discovered. Her 16-year-old stepbrother is considered a suspect, but has not been charged. An ex-boyfriend says that Anna's stepbrother was obsessed with her.
Whenever I was on FaceTime with her and I was on FaceTime with her and she was laying down and the brother tried to go on top of her.
Now, law enforcement is currently reviewing surveillance footage from that cruise ship and analyzing the electronic key card data to try to see who was accessing the cabin and coming and going at what times. Let's talk about what's going to tip the scales the most in this investigation, especially with the newly revealed information reported by ABC regarding the cause of death. Let's bring back in high-profile attorneys Mario Gallucci and Tommy Pope. Okay, let's talk about the stepbrother and charges, whether these charges are on the way. Everybody wants to know what's happening. Tommy Pope, what are your thoughts on that, please?
You know, I thought I had heard early, Julie, that they were sharing a cabin. The reason I'd say that is, you know, DNA evidence really may not prove much since he was in the room. It's interesting to me there was not a sexual assault. I was thinking, as you just told me that information, that if he really was obsessed with her, it may be the old, if I can't have her, nobody can have her. And so I think you're going to end up, you know, with what we're seeing now, seeing the brother ultimately charged. I mean, it's rare you see these deaths. Most of the deaths you see on cruise ships are somebody falling overboard. And so somebody that was committing a crime, it seems they would have taken that opportunity. So unfortunately, I think it leans toward the stepbrother.
Yeah, and great point you just made, Tommy, about there would be his DNA there anyways because of them bunking together. So you're right, that may not be very helpful. Mario, let me ask you this cause of death. Your thoughts on the asphyxiation and how a medical examiner could know the manner in which a hold may have been placed on her?
So typically what the medical examiner will do is examine, you know, the whole entire body. And if they found bruises on the neck, they would look for signs of compression. And if they find the signs of compression and the lack of oxygen in the lungs, then they would determine that it was an asphyxiation. Tough word to say this morning. And they would, you know, go forward with that. Now they have to prove who choked her. And like Tommy just said, you don't typically see this on a cruise ship, but this investigation will be done a lot differently than an investigation that's done out not on a cruise ship. I mean, you don't have easy pass records. You're not going to have cell site information. The only thing you're really going to have is any witnesses or, as you just said, you know, key card, who went in the room, who went out of the room, and also there's surveillance all over cruise ships, especially in the hallway. So if there's surveillance of him going in the room and nobody else going in the room and then him leaving the room, I think you're going to have some charges pushed upon him.
Right, Mario. And what about any charges for any of the parents? Tommy, at the custody hearing recently, which is where, by the way, we're only hearing information about this stepbrother potentially being a suspect, the FBI, as you both know, being very tight-lipped. But in filings that are trustworthy, I mean, this is coming from the boy's father and his attorney saying that they have questions about whether the boy's mother, and that would be Anna's stepmother, whether she was properly supervising these kids on the cruise ship. Tommy, curious, if there were red flags, if this boy did have an obsession with Anna, and if he was possibly exhibiting some dangerous or concerning behavior toward Anna, might there be any culpability for the parents?
Well, Julie, this always sounds cliche, but it's based on the evidence. If you've got sufficient evidence piling up of known or should have known, we're hearing basically the tip of the iceberg. And I always view any family relationship, we know about her mother not being able to attend the funeral and all those things. I always view it through a pretty suspicious filter because domestic creates the worst of us. I think we see that all the time in, divorce, and you really can't ever figure out who's truthful and who's crazy. And so I think if the evidence yields to it, they would look at that. Arguably, maybe even the mother civilly, but again, I noticed that supposedly the dad was saying the mother wasn't paying child support, and in my experience, if I'm seeing a mother have to pay child support, she must have been a pretty poor mother, because at least here in South Carolina, they normally defer to the mother. So there's a lot going on there. I think it's going to be based on the evidence.
Right, Tommy. Mario, quickly, one last question. If this young man who's a juvenile is being federally charged, that adds a layer of complication, right? Isn't there are a couple mechanisms that need to happen before we could potentially see the case go through the system?
Yeah, well, I mean, if he's going to be federally charged, they're going to have to, grab him in the jurisdiction he's in, and then it's going to be very difficult to find. I don't know where the boat was out of. It's probably going to be the jurisdiction is going to be out of whatever port the boat was out of. Let's assume it was Florida, then the jurisdiction would be the federal system in Florida. Or maybe they would bring it to wherever his jurisdiction is, where he lived. So, I mean, the feds will figure it out.
Yeah, so lots of questions, and charging can sometimes be complicated, as you both know so well.